Hey, Peter.
Hey, Mr. Mark.
Welcome to A Work in Progress. Thanks for tuning in. We're so glad you guys are here.
Hi, person listening to this.
Person, male, female, child.
Yeah, I'm going to pretend that I'm a psychic, and I'm going to say that you are currently driving your car.
Whoa.
No, they're not.
They're not?
I was wrong. You are currently eating
Right.
and or drinking something, though, whilst listening / watching to this.
I feel like driving your car would have been a better guess.
You think so?
Do you listen to podcasts when you're eating / drinking?
Man, I'm not good at this psychic thing. I'm going to move on to something else.
And your name is?
Cynthia.
Cynthia, if you're listening, we're watching you.
I don't even know. I don't think I know a Cynthia, so it's a horrible guess. And we know that it's mostly just people that we know that are watching this.
So that's probably, could have gone with any of those names.
I want to say it's you. You're the one watching and listening.
That's
Mark.
Right. And I would be driving.
Yeah,
Most
there you go.
likely.
All right, so you're driving. I got it.
Wow, how did you know that?
Nailed it. Hey, buddy.
My word, when I go back and listen to this podcast, it's going to be so creepy.
Anyways.
Oh my goodness, man. You having a good day?
Yeah, I'm having a good day.
Good.
Good day so far.
Good. We have a newborn baby, you know,
Yeah.
Annabelle Love. And so I'm like learning how to be dad again to a newborn
Yeah.
and all that fun stuff. And I find myself like doing the baby talk and everything like that. And I was thinking this morning like how wild it would be if we treated adults like we treat babies.
Okay.
Like Annabelle's like, she like blew up her diaper.
Right.
And we're like cheering for her and like, way to go. That's awesome, Annabelle. You're so good.
Oh, no.
Good job. I'm so glad you're working that through.
You really did it.
You really did it. So we should just stand outside the bathroom sometime. Just as people walk out. Good job.
I'm sure there'd probably be some men with
Way to
prostate
go.
problems that are actually like, yeah, you knew it?
You knew it?
You knew I'd been struggling?
Oh, my word. You are a psychic.
Wow, it's a great
That's
day.
amazing.
It's a great day. I appreciate your encouragement. Needed that today.
Oh, man. Oh, but yeah, it's fun. It's fun. Changing diapers is fun. Not sleeping at night is fun.
Yeah, I don't
Loving
miss that
babies is
at
fun.
all.
It's all good. It's all good. So I was thinking about our conversation last time.
Yeah.
And there are a few things that I just wanted to clarify and kind of talk a little bit more about, if that's okay.
Yeah, definitely.
So the first thing is I had mentioned in the Gospel of Mark that the last chapter and a half was put in after the fact. Mm-hmm. And so there's some truth to that. It wasn't a chapter and a half. It was just like the last 3/4 of the last chapter.
See, that's what I thought it was.
Yeah,
I was going to bring it up.
You were going to bring it up. You didn't want to. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So it's like after the resurrection account, there's more that happens, including like the well-known verse, go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature.
Yeah.
So that stuff was added after the fact. In fact, like the ESV, I'm going to read it. It says, some of the earliest manuscripts do not include 16:9 through 20. Okay. So that's what I was talking about. That last little section seems to have been added after the fact.
Okay.
So just to clarify, that's what I meant by it. But also, I think there's a huge part of this that you hit on that I think that I just want to talk about briefly a little bit more.
I'm happy to. Let's do it.
And that's like the importance of faith in all of this. And that when we talk about the gray, and there's two different ways we can talk about it, but when we talk about the gray being like uncertainty and trying to figure things out and trying to figure out where you land and pulling things from different areas a little bit, and the base of all that has to be faith.
Definitely.
And so Anselm and then Augustine picked it up too. He had this idea. It was fides guarinis intellectum. And it's this faith-seeking understanding, this idea that like the foundation has to be faith, that we start with a faith in God primarily.
Right.
And then from that, we seek an understanding in regards to other Christian things.
Yeah.
So when we start with that faith and then we try to figure out the Trinity, and we try to understand baptism and the Lord's Supper and end times and all that stuff. But it has that basis of faith. And a lot of times when we ask those questions, it just circles back around to faith.
Right.
That, like, especially with like the Trinity. I mean, we've had a lot of talks about that. With the Trinity, it comes back to like, okay, I'm not going to understand this fully, so I'm just going to have faith in the Trinity and faith in God.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. So as we're wrestling with the gray, it's okay to wrestle, and it's okay to not be certain about everything, and to ask questions of the confines that people place. Specifically, I guess we're talking about like in the church and in theology.
Yeah.
But let's do it from a place of faith, and a place where it's not understanding seeking faith, where we're trying to study in order to establish our faith.
Yeah.
It starts with faith seeking understanding.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Definitely.
All right.
Thanks for clarifying.
I had to get that out there.
That's good. That's good.
I appreciate it.
It's kind of like one of those things where like you have a conversation with somebody, and oftentimes it's where like you wish you had like a really cool comeback.
That's right. But you think about it after
you think
the
about
fact?
it like on the drive home, and you're like, oh man, I should have said this.
Yeah.
But thankfully we have the next week podcast to be like, oh yeah,
Clarify.
well I should have clarified this or said this, and then we can come on and say that. So so you don't have to have that angst of, oh man, I'm never going to get my chance to say what I should have said to make it perfect. Yeah. So.
In 6th grade social studies class, they were doing some sort of presentation about like proper conduct in regards to like relationships and girl-guy relationships. And the presenter did like this scenario and said a guy and a girl went in the janitor's closet. What do you think was happening in the janitor's closet? Weird question to ask a bunch of 6th graders.
Yeah.
But I raised my hand, and trying to be funny, I said they were playing footsie or something like that.
Yeah.
And everybody in the class laughed at me and thought it was funny. And
They laughed at you, or they were laughing because you're funny?
no, they thought it was a ridiculous answer.
Oh.
They thought it was a ridiculous answer. I wasn't the popular one in 6th grade.
I was going to say, I would have laughed like thinking that's funny.
That's a great answer. No,
Yeah.
but as soon as I got in my car after school, not my car, I was a 6th grade, but my parents' car,
Clarifying.
I beat myself up because I realized I should have said he swept her off her feet, because it was the janitor's closet.
Oh.
And then everyone would have liked me and I would have become popular.
I don't think so.
You don't know?
I just don't
That's
think.
fair.
No, not because it's not a great joke, but because I don't think 6th graders would have been quick enough to be like, oh, swept like a broom
Like
off
a
his
broom.
feet. And that's kind of like,
a
I don't think they
janitor.
would have put it together.
So what you're saying is just my intelligence and my humor far surpassed my peers.
Exactly.
I appreciate
That's
that.
spot on.
That makes
That's
me
exactly
feel-
what I'm saying.
That makes me feel better.
Yeah. Can I tell you, I have to tell you of my favorite joke, not my favorite joke I've told that also got no reaction.
Oh, man.
I was devastated. So
Oh, goodness.
I was in
These are the best jokes, though.
Oh,
it's just where it goes over everybody's head.
my opinion, fantastic joke. But I don't think I have the best sense of humor.
Oh.
But it brings me joy.
As you're wearing a shirt that says "Dad jokes are how I roll."
Dad jokes are how I roll with EYE.
EROLO.
Great, fantastic. Anyways. So you get a little baseline of where I'm coming from. That's right. So I was in English class in college at a tech school. And in tech school, there's no dorms. There's almost no community of anything. It's just everyone drives from wherever they live. They show up, they sit down, and they do class, and then they leave. There's no mingling. If there has to be a group project, it's a nightmare because nobody knows anybody. And especially where I went, at least, it was like nobody talks. It's like dead. Like the audience, the students are like zombies. We're just there to
clarify, nobody knows your sense of humor.
Nobody knows who I am.
which is terrifying. Whenever I preach at a new place, it's my jokes fail because nobody knows me. So this is the context of it. They have no recollection of
Nobody knows who I am.
Oh goodness,
I'm just another dude in the seat.
Worst place to.
And it's like there's no energy in the room at all. Anyways, but I know me. And so our professor lady, she's telling us a story, and apparently to her, she knows this story is true. That's what she tells us. Anyway, so this guy has like 12 kids, and he runs out of ideas for names. So he has the last two kids he names winner and loser. The 11th kid is winner, the 12th kid is loser. Apparently this is a true story. I don't actually know. Anyways, so she tells us about these two kids, winner and loser, and apparently loser, because of his name, ends up going like trying to prove himself, whatever, and becomes like a really like prolific author and like a lawyer and like super successful, like really successful person. So she tells us this first about loser. Then she goes on to talk about winner, and winner apparently ends up like getting into drugs and like these spurts of like being homeless for a while, like a huge bum, right? And so she's telling us this about this guy winner, and there's and I'm waiting for like a dead spot of her, talking about this so I can like say my joke because it's already in my head. So she's talking about winner and all this crap that he's doing. He's a homeless bum, druggie, and I wait for my gap and say, wow, sounds like a real loser. Nothing. Pin drop. Even the professor doesn't even pause. And I said it loud. Like, wow, this winner guy seems like a real loser.
It was going to be like a crowd hit.
And obviously, like, it's an obvious joke that nobody should really like. But the fact that I went out loud and I brought it up, this like really.
You went out on a limb right there.
Really, like, this one, my favorite part about like a bad pun or a joke is like explaining it after the fact when everyone got it, because it's a bad joke, so that's like it's like a stab with a prickly knife, and then explaining it after is like twisting the knife, and that's like you're trying to make people upset and uncomfortable with a pun with a bad joke, right? So like I knew that was kind of my intention going into it. It was like, oh, sounds like a real loser, this winner guy. And dude, I was never more like embarrassed. I like sunk in my chair. No, I don't think anyone turned to look at me. Like it was just like, am I even
Everybody
here?
tried to forget about it as quickly as possible.
Am I even present in this classroom? Like, am I dreaming? Here I am.
What did the teacher say?
Nothing. Did not even acknowledge me. Just kept going with class. And there I was thinking, wow, this whole time I thought I was funny. Apparently my wife is right. I'm not
loser.
Very funny. Anyways, that's my story of the worst moment of my life.
That was good. No, I would have cracked up. I want you to know. I feel like even in those situations, like you got to give a sympathy laugh.
Oh, something. And the tension in that room, at least for me, after there was just dead silence. I've never
Did
felt
anybody like come up to you after the class and you're like, oh, that was funny, man?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Oh my word. That is sad. I'm sorry.
It is what it is. It's all right. Anyways,
it really formed and developed you, though.
Now here I sit, keeping them coming, hoping for redemption.
Please do. That's like the greatest feeling, though, when you like have a joke and you're just waiting for the perfect time to deliver it.
The best is when it hits and you get a really good laugh. Okay, so I'm going to follow this with a good laugh that I got.
Great.
Okay. This is my comedy career
highs and
comedy
lows.
career coming out. I was in, this is a pre-calculus class in high school. And the professor is like talking about different types of pairs, right? So we're in high school. So you got to picture a bunch of 17, 16-year-old kids, right, for this to hit. And these kids know me and like me, which is also a factor.
Makes a big difference.
Most of these people know who I am, and a lot of them are my friends. So he's like, yeah, so we were just talking about pears. So next we're going to talk about, and I said, peaches. And it hit really hard. Everyone was like, peaches and pears. And that one wasn't really premeditated. It just kicked in me like real quick. He's like, yeah, so we were talking about pears, so now we're going to talk about peaches. And even the teacher laughed. I was like, I got him.
Got him.
So that brought me a lot of joy.
The highlight in your comedic career.
And that came like years before the loser joke.
Oh, man.
So I'm going into this being like, man, I got my pears and peaches joke hit so good. This what a loser joke is. It's really going to land.
It's time for this next one.
I'm ready. It's been 2 years. Just been itching.
Oh, my word. It's so funny. Oh man, yeah, it's hit or miss with a good joke.
I tell you, I tried stand-up comedy on open mic night
Did you really?
in college. Yeah.
Oh no, that sounds terrifying.
It was terrifying. I did 2 nights. The one night I did like real jokes that I had written and like
Real. What's
the other one I did as a German. I did a German accent and I did a character.
Oh, okay.
So I still remember a bit. Do you remember me to do it?
Is it going to offend anybody?
No.
Okay, sounds good.
So his name is Hans. They're like, hello, my name is Hans. I sell fireworks down the street. And what I want to know is, how does the fire work? How does it go boom, boom in the sky, you know? Anyway, so I did a lot of things like as Hans, the German guy who sells fireworks. And that was a lot more fun.
So
because,
like that was it. Like the whole time you were Hans?
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
That was enjoyable. But the other one I did like me, trying to do jokes. My problem was it's a college campus, and I was really going like not the liberal way.
Oh, okay.
Like making fun of Hillary Clinton and stuff like that.
So it probably didn't land well.
No. It was rough. But I had another guy after my bit who was also an open mic stand-up guy come up to me after. He was like, dude, those jokes were really good. It's just not the right audience. I was like, oh cool. So that was a guy who's done this before. That's
encouraging right there.
Who came up and was like, dude, your jokes are good.
Yeah.
It's your first time, so you're nervous or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's also the wrong crowd. I was like, oh, okay. Well, at least this dude said it was funny.
There you go. So. And then you thought the next time,
I was like, screw this. I'm just going to be, I am Hans. And if they're upset at Hans. And not upset at Pete.
They won't even recognize me after the show. I'm not Hans. I'm Peter. I'm going to have to talk to Hans about it. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways.
Have you ever done it since?
No. I also did an open mic night where I did songs. Yeah. Which I know you did recently.
Yeah.
How did that go?
It went well. The beauty about an open mic night is that like I hosted the open mic night. So it was open to other people. So other people played the whole time and I mostly just listened to everybody.
Nice.
It was great.
Cool.
It was nice. I was terrified of having to play. Not because I'm like scared in front of people, but just my entire repertoire of music is like church music. Yeah. And so now I got to like sing Baby by Justin Bieber. What? baby. Oh. That wasn't what I was going to do.
Ludacris just walks in. It's like, oh, perfect.
Yes.
Dude, I need you. I'll be right now.
Oh, man. Yeah. But open mics can be scary, especially with comedy, man. That's terrifying.
Used to be a lot more courageous.
Yeah. Man, we should do it again.
Down? I'll do it.
We should do a open mic comedy night.
Okay.
You can introduce Hans.
I'm back.
I'm back.
With my Lederhosen.
Oh my goodness. Yes, please. That would be great. Those are good times. Oh man. So what's on your mind?
So we're not gonna talk about the Trinity, and we'll say that.
I mean, that would be a big conversation.
Yeah, maybe we should do a whole session just on that,
just on the Trinity.
Yeah,
because I mean that is like the epitome of faith-seeking understanding.
Yeah,
and having generations of people not understanding it.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on it too. I'm excited to talk about it.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah. Anyways. What I would like to talk about is mental health and like depression and anxiety and all of that stuff. I know that you've had your experience with it in the past.
Absolutely.
I've had my experience with it. Actually, very recently, I've been struggling a lot. And it was a good coffee belch. Bring some levity to depression discussion. I like it.
That's right.
I think what helped me recently was talking out loud to people, being like, okay, I think this might be a piece of it. So I'm just going to talk about what I have figured out was a big issue for me.
Yeah.
Because it kind of came about over the last few days. So I'm a gym owner, and so running your own small business is tough. I'm a husband and a father and trying to do all of those things.
Which are all tough as well.
Which are tough individually. So kind of combining all those, and what I realized was, so I'm a pretty empathetic person in general. If someone else is feeling pain, I often put that on, like I absorb it almost, and like, oh man, like if Shereen comes home and she's in a bad mood, but I was just in a great mood, and she comes home and she's sad, it's almost impossible for me to maintain my good mood. It's like, oh, now we are sad.
Yeah.
You're sad. We are sad.
Yeah.
So I realized that I was absorbing, so I have about 90 gym members. I was absorbing the struggles and difficulties of about 90 people.
Oh, wow.
In addition to my wife and son and friends and family and stuff. And carrying that on my shoulders kind of subconsciously. But realizing that like I want to help people, which is the only reason somebody would start a small business in the first place.
Yeah.
Because you're not in for the money.
Yeah, without a doubt.
You're trying to help people. And so I'm trying to help 100 or 90 people, and feeling all of their struggles that they kind of bring in and discuss with me. Not that I don't want them to. If you're a gym member, please continue to talk to me. I'm not saying I don't want to hear your struggles and stuff like that. But I wasn't compartmentalizing other people's struggles from my own. So I was holding that all day, 90 plus people on my shoulders of, okay, this person needs help. This person has been struggling. This person needs motivation because they haven't been in the gym for a while. And putting all of that on myself. And the burden of that was just exhausting mentally and even physically. Like I can't do that. I can't help that many people. I just can't by myself. And
but this goes to show how you run your gym, is that like you actually invest in these people's lives.
I care about everybody there so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
which is, this isn't necessarily a commercial for your gym,
but if you want to work out and you're in the Grafton area, Eupraxia in Grafton, 1805 Wisconsin Ave, between Dollar Tree and Enterprise.
Go buy a soda for $1, rent a car, and work out.
Maybe not the soda.
That's right. The water. But like that's one of the selling points, is that you so invest in people's lives, and you're not there just to tell people how to do a proper squat.
Yeah.
Like that's part of it. But you're actually like invested in their betterment and their well-being as a person, which is great and fantastic and admirable, and again, one of the biggest selling points about Eupraxia Grafton. But you have to figure out how to weigh that too, and that's hard.
Shereen and I were talking about how I was bringing this up to her, and she was saying, like, yeah, you're kind of the end of the road for people who need help with this stuff, and you don't have. I was like, yeah, and I don't have that person to go to. I would say you're often that person because of our discussions that we get to have. But Shereen was like, yeah, like therapists have therapists that they talk to oftentimes because people are unloading on them. Yeah. And they need to be able to unload. Yeah. Oh yeah. So I don't think I'm going to go to therapy. Yeah. Because I have you. But that was I don't know, maybe I would, but I'm not like anti-therapy, but anyways, that was just kind of a good unboxing of my own internal subconscious. Yeah. Why am I feeling all of this weight? Yeah. And I was like, okay, so I need to be okay with other people struggling and not be the savior. Like I can't and shouldn't, because people need to, I'm there to help when it's needed and when I'm able to. But it's not fair to anybody for me to feel like I need to hold all of your struggle weight until it's resolved. Like I was like dragging my feet through the mud, like just exhausted. And I think that's a big piece of it.
That's a big piece of it. It's like your kids. Yeah. Like when your kids hurt, you hurt. Yeah. You don't want to see your kids struggle. Yeah. When they're having a hard time, you have a hard time. Mm-hmm. And so I imagine it's the same way with gym members when they're struggling, when they're hurting, just in life in general. Yeah. You feel that too.
Yeah. It's tough. And then when people aren't there and you're like, oh, these people need motivation, they need a kick in the butt so that they show up, because I know how beneficial exercise is for your mental health, you know, just feeling good, feeling confident, your physical health. I know all of the pros. So when people aren't there and you know, they're already a member, they've just been falling off the wagon or whatever, I feel so much on me to be like, hey, get back. Yeah. But that happens so often because exercise is uncomfortable, especially when you've been gone for 2 months or 3 months and you're like, well, I'm still a member there. But if I show up, then people are going to think, hey, this person's a slacker because they haven't been here in so long. Whereas what really happens is, hey, like, we've been missing you.
We're so glad you're here. This is awesome.
You're here. It's like the prodigal son, dude. Like prodigal son coming back, and the dad is like stoked that he came back, and he was like ready to be a servant or whatever. Anyways, the next big piece that really, I think, took me from being low to feeling free was Shireen and I had a good talk, and we were talking about how we just didn't seem to be like connecting very well. Not like we were struggling, but we just weren't in sync. Which I think happens with a lot of married couples. And I kind of pinpointed what I thought it was to when we first met. I was a person and she was a person, and we kind of fell in love with each other. And then as we grew in our marriage and everything, I learned more about her and she learned more about me. And I think that we kind of molded ourselves to be kind of that, like, Leave It to Beaver family of, this is what she wants to see, so let me slowly mold into that person, which isn't 100% me, but it has pieces of me. And turns out that's not a good idea. Because she fell in love with who I am. And I fell in love with who she is. And we can become slightly different people as we grow up and get older and, you know, have a kid and all that stuff. But sometimes she would say something and I would take it to heart, like how I think like she needs to feel loved versus how I feel loved, and like love languages and, you know, acts of service and different things like that. Where she admitted recently, she's like, I don't even know what I want. I was like, oh, that sounds about right. But she basically, and I kind of needed to hear this out loud, gave me permission to just be me. And I was like, like, dude,
it's freeing.
It was like, you know, like if you were rolling around in mud and you're covered with it and it dries out and you're like full of it, like dried mud, like all of that just like peeled off and like fell away. And I was like free again. And I was like, I don't have to be constantly wondering like if what I say is going to bother you, if what I do is going to like tick you off and we're going to get into an argument, if what I say is not the right thing. Like, the freedom of that just took me from being in a like pretty deep, dark place to feeling like really good. And man, that was great. Like, I'm so happy today.
That's fantastic.
It was almost like a switch flip. Like if you take a pill for a headache and the headache goes away, it's like I took a pill for my anxiety and it was gone.
Wow.
Because she was like, yeah, like, I want you to be you. And I was like, cool, I want you to be you, because that's who we fell in love with. No like facade, no putting on a face, like be who you are. And I think that's what a lot of people who are struggling with anxiety and depression are, is they are stuck pretending to be who they think everyone else wants to see. And it's like most of your lifelong family and friends love you because of who you are. And when you give yourself permission to be yourself, the freedom in that is like, whew, I can do it again. Now I can take on the day because it doesn't matter because I'm not putting on a face. I'm not acting. I'm just being myself. And I think everybody should do that.
Oh my word. I mean, that's the beauty of authenticity, is that we get to be who we are. We get to do what we're passionate about. We get to communicate what we like to communicate. And the struggle is that we rest so much on our perception of what people are thinking of us.
Oh, dude.
Rather than the reality of what people are thinking of us.
Everything.
And we take that perception as reality, and we live our lives in accordance with that perception.
Exactly.
So one of the practices that I've really worked on is to, in a situation where I feel like someone is judging me or perceiving me a certain way, is to stop and really assess the situation and think if that person in their character would really think that about me, or if that's just my perception. And that has given me freedom in that respect. So for example, there was, I forget the details, but there was something I was doing in the church, and I was really worried about how one of our leaders would react to it, and that they would be offended by it and potentially like leave the church over it. And then someone encouraged me and said, "Is that something really that this person would do?" Like, no, absolutely not. How would this person respond? We'd have a conversation about it, and they'd be super loving and gracious about it, and we'd move on in our friendship. Oh, okay.
Okay.
I feel better.
That
now.
sounds more like reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But our perception is so real, and that's why, as scary as it is, like communication is so important.
Yeah.
To talk through those things.
Some of the best moments in Shreen's in my marriage has been the tough conversations that we put off for a week or a month that like we both could feel like it was palpable. But we didn't want to bring it up, and it's not fun. But then after the conversation, it's like the lightness of the, it's the tension isn't there anymore. And you're just like, oh, we should have done this like immediately.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it, at least for me, real quick, let me preface all of this by saying, and you'd agree with me, is that we are not experts in mental health at all, but these are just our experiences and our struggles.
I would say that we're not experts as far as book smarts.
Yeah.
We don't have education in it, but sometimes experience is more than a book can do. So in a way, I would say we are experts because we've been through it. We're not experts in whoever is listening to this.
Yeah, what you're going through.
We're not experts in that.
Yeah.
But I would say that I do have some expertise in some mental struggles.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Not trying to, that's definitely not a gloat or a brag. It's not fun. I'm just saying.
An expert.
When someone has
an expert at depression.
Personal experience, depressional expert. Yeah. Anyways,
let me brag about
please continue.
But yeah, I mean, so a lot of times I think it comes to kind of our view of ourself and assuming that other people view us the way we view us. And so I struggle a lot with insecurity. I struggle a lot with feeling as though I'm not valuable, not worth it. I feel as though what I'm doing a lot of times is something to be ashamed of, and those are kind of like voices that fill my head that I'm not good enough, and that I'm not worth attention and worth love and worth people's appreciation. And so when I tell myself all of those things, then in my mind it becomes the reality of how other people view me. And so when someone looks at me a certain way, my mind automatically goes to, I did something to bother them, or they don't appreciate me. They're going to cut me out of their life. They're going to treat me a certain way. When that's not the reality at all. I mean, they might have just been tired or had a long day or something like that.
Or that's just their face.
Facts.
Some people just have that face.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But when I impress on other people my view of myself, and that's where like a big thing that I'm continuously working on is being gracious towards myself and recognizing that other people, especially the people that I've surrounded myself with, are going to be very gracious towards me and genuinely love me, and wrapping my mind around that. And that's hard to do.
It is difficult.
Yeah.
I had my younger brother tell me that yesterday, because I was like, dude, I'm kind of in a struggling place. And he's like, I just want you to know, like, you are serving an incredible purpose with what you're doing. And he gave me all these like incredible compliments that I think a lot of especially men need to hear. I saw a meme that I think is true. And it was like some lady got a compliment. She's like, oh, yeah, whatever, no biggie. And some guy got a compliment, and it was like fast forward 20 years, and he's still like, oh, yeah, that one compliment
Remember
that I
that
got.
compliment I
yeah.
got?
Because it seems so far in between.
Right.
And
my light up shoes were cool.
I'll tell you,
Right.
I got one from when I was an employee at Piggly Wiggly. I did a drop off, like we did some deliveries, and I was probably like 18 at the time, and so I did like the drop off of the groceries, and the lady, it was like this old lady in the house. She's like, "Oh, I didn't know they were gonna send the most handsome guy to come deliver my groceries," and I was like, and she was probably like 70, whatever. But it's like to this day, I'm like,
You remember that?
That lady thought I was handsome. It's like. If you're a lady listening to this and you can compliment a guy in whatever way, like he will keep that compliment, especially if it's sincere.
Yeah.
Like give some dude a sincere compliment today.
Appropriate.
Appropriate. Hopefully. Well, maybe not. It depends on your relationship with him.
Yeah.
But he will take that with him for probably the rest of his life.
Oh, yeah.
So just your words matter.
Yeah. My struggle, and part of this could be coming from, I was a pastor's kid growing up, and so everybody would always praise me as the good PK and
Pastor's kid?
Yeah.
I've never heard that abbreviated before.
PK?
So, yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah, I was a PK and an MK, missionary kid, and
Oh,
a
wow.
pastor's kid. Yeah. And in Mario Kart, I always race with a DK.
I was gonna say I had no way to. I was working on wordplay in my head for DK. I had nothing. I was just gonna let it go. I'm really glad you brought it up. I was like, how can we work DK into this?
So I always had that, but it was tied to my dad and my dad's position, and it was tied to being well behaved around people.
Yep.
And putting on this perception of I am the perfect pastor's kid.
Yeah.
And so I've this isn't healthy, and I'm working through it, but I've become like numb to compliments because I feel like they're
not sincere.
they're not sincere. Again, they are.
Sure.
But my perception is that they're not sincere. They're just saying this to be nice. They're just saying this to.
Hey, great
because of
sermon
who I
today,
am.
Pastor.
Yeah.
Oh, you're just saying that because you were in the front and I saw
Exactly,
you.
and you want to know that you were there. That's right. Yeah, and so that's what I wrestle with, is like actually feeling valued in situations where people have a desire to value me, and that's hard for me because I devalue myself in my mind so much. So it's hard. So legitimately, a lot of my struggle with that has come within the past like year or two. And like doing this podcast, I never would have done anything like this before, because like and I still wrestle with this, like, why does anybody care about anything I have to say?
Right.
Like it's almost comical that little Mark Burkholder thinks that he has something that can add to this world. And that's like what I tell myself and what I've always filled my head with. And so the practice of doing this and wrestling with the reality of maybe I have something to offer people. Maybe I have something that can encourage people. And being, and doing it in a way that I enjoy doing it, and the way that God created me to do it. Again, it's something I wrestle with legitimately every podcast. I leave thinking like, no one's going to care about anything I have to say. And so it's a struggle. It's a struggle for me.
I think there's freedom in knowing, for me coming into this, that like, I just want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And if people get something out of it,
People listen.
I think that's fantastic. And I think people have already and will continue to. And if it's 3 people I kind of have to use that philosophy at the gym is like, if I give a little extra and that one person gets a really good workout, or I say one thing that really encourages somebody, that's worth the whole day, the whole week. It's if I affected one person's life, completely changed it, which people have said, and it comes down to, is it genuine or not, or are they just trying to be nice? But people have said like, my life has changed because of the gym and the community here and stuff like that. And it's worth the whole gym. Yeah. The whole, everything that goes into it. Yeah. And I would say for you, like, this is a great thing for you, because I've said this compliment to you before, and I'm very genuine and sincere. You have one of the most soothing, phenomenal voices of any person.
I have been told that.
Dude, you have an incredible voice. Like, your podcast voice is fantastic.
Well, thank you.
You were meant for this. Okay? So to preach and to do a podcast, your laugh is phenomenal, dude. It's contagious. It makes me happy.
I'm glad.
You bring me a ton of joy. And if nothing else, dude, you are helping me a ton by giving me someone to talk to. And that's, I think, priceless. You're a phenomenal friend.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, I have felt valued, and the fact that, like, in our conversations, even pre a work in progress, in our conversations, I have felt that, like, that we are both contributing to the conversation, and we're edifying one another and building one another up, and encouraging one another, and that's where, like, I felt, and I've started to feel that, like, I'm not just a taker in relationships, but I have something to contribute to relationships too.
Dude, absolutely.
Which is a new feeling and an encouraging feeling. But I mean, that whole struggle of devaluing yourself, it leads to some dark thoughts, and it leads to struggle, and it leads to depression about, do people really care about, and we've talked about this. That's one of the hardest things about being the man in this culture, is that the love that we receive often isn't unconditional.
Right. It's conditional on the value you bring most times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this is a hard reality for pastors, is that if I left Cedar Creek Community Church, there would be another pastor in here in like a year or something, and everyone would go on with their life with a new pastor, and so just trying to figure out where is our value, what is our worth, and it's not in what I do, it's not even in what people think of me, and that's something I'm still a work in progress.
Good plug. I feel the exact same way about the gym.
Yeah,
'cause it's like, dude, it's so stressful. And you're going to have stress in anything. So I'm not like complaining about the stress. I'm just saying it's an extremely stressful job to try and run, operate, and lead classes and bring in new people. And I wear every single hat at the gym, right?
Yeah.
And if I didn't want all that stress anymore, and I was just like, I'm just going to close the doors. And I'll go make more money somewhere else with less stress.
Yeah.
Everybody here could just go to a different gym. There's 7 in the area within like 5 miles, you know? And, that's a struggle to be like, feel like you're basically just replaceable by any other body. Right.
I feel that. And at the same time, like, I know it's because it's looking at a different perspective, but I look at you and I'm like, Peter, what are you talking about? Like, it's obvious that, like, every person is at the gym not because of how good of an instructor you are. They're at the gym because of you.
So you're saying I'm
saying
just kidding.
If you sucked, it wouldn't matter.
I could help myself.
Is that people are there because of you, and because of how awesome you are, and not because of how good of a gym you've made or how good the workouts. All of those things are fantastic, and you're so good at it. But it's because of you that people are there, and because you're special, and because you're unique, and because you have something to offer lives that they've never seen before.
I would say the same thing about you, dude.
See, it's easier to say it about other people.
No, I know, but I've told you this before too. I was like, I love this church. As soon as you leave, I'm gone. I'm just being 100%.
Well, that's what you
honest.
said. Like everybody would get plugged into another gym. I would not get plugged into. I hate to break it to you.
I'm just saying. I would go. I would be like, where are we going? Pastor Mark is like, all right, I'm sorry. I have to say that I will be moving on to another church. And I'm like, where are we going, Pastor Mark? What's our new destination? I'm half packed, buddy.
Oh, man. I just love you. I love our friendship, man.
It's great.
I was telling my brother, because he was commenting on like, it's cool to just watch our relationship and watch our friendship. And I told him it just feels like having like a childhood buddy.
Yeah.
that like you walk into second grade and you're just excited to see your friend and play with your friend. Like that's how I feel about you. I just want to be there.
Yeah. Oh, that's exactly right. Trading lunches.
That's right. I don't want to go back too far, but going back to that first struggle you said about carrying people's burdens.
Yeah.
I hear that. And as a pastor, obviously there's a lot of that too. And I've had to surround myself with people, you being at the top of that list of people I can confide in and be encouraged by. But that's a difficult road. And as you know, there's like seasons of it where like people are really struggling, but I'm good. And then certain people are struggling and I'm really struggling now.
Yeah. And it's a huge issue when everyone else is struggling and you're struggling.
Oh yeah.
That's when it's dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're the one that's supposed to be helping.
I think that's the problem is what I've realized with my anxiety, depression issues in the past is it's hard to examine it when you're in it, but there's so much weight. It's just like, I was trying to think of an analogy of what it feels like for me when I'm in that dark place, because I've been there multiple times. And I was thinking of, you're in like a separate room, like you're in a room that's dimly lit. It's got like low oxygen levels, so you can't breathe really well. Your feet are in like quicksand, so like you're slowly sinking, slowly sinking down with nothing really to grab on. Can't breathe really good. And once in a while, someone will come by and say like, hey, do you need a hand? And for some reason, you don't even really want them to help you. Yeah. And it doesn't make sense. But sometimes when you're in that deep darkness, you're almost comfortable in the suffering. And it usually comes with so much exhaustion, mentally and physically, that sometimes I could do this to get out of this place. But the effort and energy that it would take for me to go through that suffering and struggle to get out of this current suffering and struggle is something I don't have the energy for. Yeah. I can't go to the gym to get that workout in. I can't start eating better because I just don't have it. I'm exhausted. I'm spent. I got nothing. I'm running on below zero right now. Yeah. And people are coming in trying to give me advice. It's like, it just, you almost don't want to hear it. You're like, you don't get what I'm going through right now. Yeah. I'm below zero. And I'm holding the weight of 100 other people. And you're just like, you can't breathe. And it seems like you're just slowly going to sink into that sand. And part of you wants to, because at least then it'd be over.
It's warm in there.
Yeah. At least the heat's on. Yeah. No, it's not a good place to be. And I think that you have to figure out what that weight is and mitigate it somehow, or figure out how to compartmentalize it, because it doesn't have to necessarily be your weight. Yeah.
Okay. I think it really helps surrounding yourself with people that will like help you carry the weight, even if you don't know they're helping you carry the weight. Yeah. Like that are just going to like be there with you. And just that in and of itself helps you carry the weight, and you don't realize it. Yeah. But they're just there.
Yeah. I had a roommate in college who was going through depression before I ever had. Yeah. And a lot of people haven't gone through it, and they think that you need help.
Yeah.
Right. And they want to help. And when really,
all you need is Barnabas time.
What?
All you need is Barnabas time. You just need someone to whisper some encouraging notes into your ear when you're sleeping.
If you don't know what that means, you got to listen to the
previous podcast. Call back. Sorry, go on.
No, that's fine. But I was kind of like talking to him, and he was like, dude, nobody really listens. Like, they all want to immediately be like, oh, well, you should do this, this, and this, which, going back to what I said before, is not a good response. Yep. And it's not what someone in that state is really looking for, because they're too tired and exhausted to really do anything. Yeah. Like, it's hard to take out the trash when you're in that spot. It's hard to clean one dish. Yeah. Sometimes it's really hard to get off the couch. Yeah. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, praise the Lord, you haven't been in that spot, because it is rough. Yeah. Okay. But he was like, I just want to talk to somebody. And I was like, all right, like, I'm listening. And sometimes that is the best, is to just, even if it's not for them to rebuttal some assistance or helpful anecdote or like advice, just for them to kind of share that with you and be present with you and know that somebody's gonna listen, I think is a lot of times is huge.
Yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. And you need that help, and you need that support system.
Don't do it alone.
Life is hard.
Don't do it alone.
Don't do it alone.
Don't do it alone. And you'd be surprised how many people will come out of the woodwork when you say you're struggling and be like, hey, I didn't even know. Like, what can I do?
Oh, yeah, because you become so good at covering it up.
Oh, man. And it comes back to, again, what I said with Shireen and her saying, like, no, I want you to just, like, be you. Like, don't try and mold yourself to what you think I want to see, because I love you more than that pretend person. Yeah. So if you are in a spot where you don't like yourself, see if you're being your authentic self. And if you're not, you gotta let yourself be free. Yeah. And the people who stick around for that are going to be near and dear to you. And the people who don't like that person, who is who you are, guess what? You don't want them around anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. You be you, boo.
You be you, boo-boo.
Be you. When I first came to the church, I was a young 27-year-old who was named the lead pastor of a small church. Yeah. And when we got here, my first active pastor before my first Sunday was to preach a funeral. And in my first 6 months, I think we had about 6 funerals. And a treasured woman in our congregation who's still battling, diagnosed with cancer, and was undergoing tests and meeting with families who had lost loved ones or were losing loved ones. Yeah. I was in way over my head. And I had so many dark thoughts of what am I doing? And I remember calling my dad in my driveway, just like weeping, like, this is a mistake. Like, God made a mistake. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not the one to be doing this. And it's hard. And it goes back to like taking on the burdens of other people. Yeah. But it's remarkable that like, in Scripture, again, we've talked about this in Scripture, it doesn't devalue struggling. Like, it doesn't say like once you're done struggling, come back and continue your Christian walk. It doesn't say these are the 10 ways to stop struggling. Rather, it says that like struggling produces character and it produces perseverance, and that struggling can be a good thing in our lives, and to recognize that we're called to walk alongside of people in what is an incredibly difficult time, but maybe a beneficial time. That's really hard to think about and hard to say. But people who have gone through struggles can look back and recognize that. Like, yeah, that was a really hard time, but I came out of it stronger. I came out of it with a fresh perspective on things. Yeah. And to realize that our job isn't to get people out of the struggle. Our job is to love them in the midst of it and know that there could be good that comes out of this.
Absolutely. I think that most growth comes from struggle.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're just comfy sitting in your living room, you don't have to work a day in your life, and you get spoon-fed your favorite food all day. Mm-hmm. It's really counterintuitive, but you get depressed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we actually need struggle. It's just sometimes it's seemingly too much to handle.
Yeah.
And that's when we got to ask for help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
But yeah, I mean, what was it? Some of the prophets' disciples were like whipped for preaching, and they came out jumping for joy, and we were like, we got whipped for Jesus. Like we're suffering for God, and they're like rejoicing. It's like, what? When you read that, you're like, what? Like they were stoked that they got whipped. Like,
and like Paul singing hymns in jail, and the stories of the martyrs who were praising the Lord as they were being burned at the stake. And I mean, like all of that stuff is incredible, like awful suffering. That I truly don't wish I ever have to endure.
Right.
But in the midst of our suffering, that doesn't mean that we're doing something wrong. That doesn't mean that we got to get out of it as quickly as possible. That doesn't mean that there's something bad. It means that the Lord's working on us. An okay place to be.
Yeah. You're not broken. Mm-mm. That's always I think this is helpful. If it's helpful for me, it might be helpful for other people. When I was in that dark place recently, I saw a video of a guy saying, usually when you're depressed and anxious and all that stuff, you keep listening to that mean voice that's in your head. Mm-hmm. And the flip to switch is, instead of listening to yourself, talk to yourself. I was like, oh, okay, that's good. And that can, be interpreted different ways. But I kind of decided that voice in my head that was saying you're worthless, none of this is worth all of your effort, all those negative things about yourself that I'm sure you're familiar with, that isn't me. First of all, because if it is you, why would you lie to yourself? Mm-hmm. So if you listen to the voice that you think is you, you're not going to lie to yourself. It must be true. And you know you better than anybody. So it's all true and you suck. That's the bad road. Dang. And it goes down, worse. And then you prove yourself right because you're listening to it. It's bad. I decided that voice isn't on me. It's evil, whatever you want to think, like mean bully in my head. Yeah. And decided that I'm going to kick it by beating this guy's butt. So if and when, because it's a bully, and what should, I'm not advocating for violence, but if, we don't encourage bullying of kids, right? Yeah. Like if there's two kids, one of them's being a bully, we discourage that behavior in whatever way is appropriate. Yeah. But when it's in our internal dialogue, we're like, yeah, that bully's right. Yeah. I suck. Instead of being like, no, you don't know what you're talking about, dude. Like, I've done this good. I have all these people saying these things that are true about me. Mm-hmm. I'm not this. This is lies. So they say Satan is the king of lies. And I wouldn't be surprised if that internal dialogue was Satan trying to convince you that you blow. Yeah. Because people like you, and as humbly as I can say it, like me, influence people in our day-to-day jobs. Yeah. And if Satan can get a hold of our internal dialogue and say that we suck, then we can't have as good of a positive influence on your congregation, on my gym members, and everybody else that we see on a daily basis. Mm. So he's fighting us hard because we have a potential positive influence on people that he doesn't want us to have. And I say, screw Satan. Mm-hmm. God wins. He's strong. God is right. Mm-hmm. Satan lies. That voice in your head is lies. Mm-hmm. Beat him to a pulp. Mm-hmm. However you have to do that in your internal dialogue. That's wrong. That's not true. You're awesome. You're loved. Yeah. You have incredible purpose. And when you decide that you can be yourself, and you don't have to put on a show for people, let that freedom come. Let the weight fall off of everybody else. You can't do anything about it. And that's okay. When they ask you for help, you can be there to help instead of dragging their weight around with you all day, every day, affecting your energy levels and your mental health. They don't want that. Yeah. Whoever's struggling, they don't want to put that burden on you. Yeah. You're doing it to yourself. And I'm talking about me, right? I'm like, this is what discussion I've had with myself recently. Let go of that baggage from other people's struggles. Decide to be yourself and be okay with being yourself. And when that little demon voice pops up again, realize that's not you. It's a lie, and punch it in the face. Yeah.
Without a doubt.
That's what's been working for me, very, very recently, within the last day. Yeah. And I feel so much lighter and better today than I did even 24 hours ago.
And it takes practice to hear the God voice in you.
Yeah.
And to hear the
Truth.
to hear the truth or to hear the lies. To discern those two is hard. And it takes practice.
Not beat yourself up, dude. That's a huge piece of it too. Is like when you do something that you deem a poor decision, then being like, "Oh, see, I knew it. I'm a piece of trash." It's like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
You're going right down back where you came from, and that's not true.
I love you, man.
I love you too, buddy. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you too. If you're listening and you can relate to that, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
But know that you are special, that you are unique, that you are loved, you are treasured. But we also recognize that us telling you those things isn't going to do much until you start telling yourself those things. So invest in yourself because you're worth it. And remind yourself of those things.
Yeah.
That's something this guy's taught me.
Sweet.
I love you.
Love you too, bud. What are we sponsored by today?
Oh, my word.
I'm going to let you pick.
You're going to let me pick?
Yeah,
It's got to stay in
picked
the
all the
food
other
category, right?
Yeah.
Rotisserie chickens.
Oh,
Those
I'm a
things
fan.
are incredible.
And they're pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Pretty affordable.
It's wild. I've heard that Costco loses money on their rotisserie chickens.
I've heard that as well.
But they keep it affordable. It's like $5, right? $5
That's
for
what
a
they
whole
say.
chicken.
Yeah, but then you buy a bunch of other stuff while you're there. That's
how can you not?
They put it in the back. That's how they get you. I love myself
smart.
a chicken. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Rotisserie chicken is great. Like,
Did we settle the noodle debate, by the way? Did you see?
I think it's pretty much settled. I do. I think
And
the
you're
masses have agreed that it is a noodle.
Ramen noodle is a noodle. I think it is a noodle until you put it in water. But if you put anything in water, it becomes soup.
Well, someone gave me this perspective that like ramen noodles are not soup. If you put them in the broth, it's just something to make the soup taste better. But they themselves are noodles.
Well, technically, any noodle isolated is a noodle.
Yeah, that's the point.
That's gonna make me so mad. Oh man, rotisserie chickens. God bless you.
Oh, they're great. You can do tacos. You can just eat them like a barbarian, like anything. Like you can just. Oh, rotisserie chickens are.
The only downside is that string that they wrap around them. That's impossible to get off.
Yeah, that is.
It's like, where's the steak knife?
You're taking the handcuffs off this chicken that's long gone.
It's brutal. It's true.
Yeah, it's true. What do you get when you cross an angry goat or an angry goat and an angry cow?
What?
Two animals that are in a bad mood.
That was good.
Sorry.
That was good.
I apologize.
I enjoyed it. One I saw recently I liked was, what did the dentist get for an award?
What?
He got a little plaque.
That's good.
That's
good.
Yeah. Short and sweet, family friendly.
That's right.
Feel free to take it and use it.
That's right.
I stole it. I didn't make up.
That's good. That's good. All right. Well, again, thanks for listening with us. And Peter, thank you for talking with me. I love you, man.
Love you too, buddy. I hope you have a phenomenal day. You are loved and fantastic.
Absolutely. Love you. Talk to you later. Bye.